Space, also known as outer space, is the area directly outside of Earth's atmosphere. Space technically begins at the Kármán line, which is about 100 kilometers or 62 miles above the Earth. Unlike Earth, there is no air in space, which is why astronauts have to wear high-tech spacesuits to travel there. This also means that space is completely black, as there is no air to scatter sunlight and create a blue sky like we have on Earth. This lack of air also means that space is completely silent. Space is what is known as a vacuum, which is an area that is completely free of any matter like air. Air molecules are what transmit sound, and so in space, it is impossible for sound to exist without them. What is in space? When we think of space, we typically picture a big empty void, but there are actually lots of things that exist in space. As we know, there are a vast amount of stars, as well as all of the planets in the solar system. Some people think these are the only things in space, but there are actually lots of other exciting things up there. Asteroids. Asteroids are rocky, airless worlds that orbit our sun. They are remnants left over from the formation of our solar system, ranging in size from the length of a car to about as wide as a large city. Asteroids are diverse in composition. Some are metallic, while others are rich in carbon, giving them a coal-black color. They can be rubble piles, loosely held together by their own gravity, or they can be solid rocks. Most of the asteroids in our solar system reside in the region called the main asteroid belt. This vast, donut-shaped ring between the orbits of Mars and Jupiter contains hundreds of thousands of asteroids, maybe millions. But despite what you see in the movies, there is still a great deal of space between each asteroid. Dwarf planets. Don't let the name fool you. Despite their small size, dwarf planets are worlds that are just as compelling as their larger siblings. Dwarf planets are defined by astronomers as bodies massive enough to be shaped by gravity into a round or nearly round shape, but they don't have enough of their own gravitational muscle to clear their path of other objects as they orbit the Sun. In our solar system, dwarf planets are mostly found in the Kuiper belt beyond Neptune. Pluto is the best-known example. But the largest object in the asteroid belt is the dwarf planet Ceres. Like Pluto, Ceres shows signs of active geology, including ice volcanoes. Meteoroids. Meteoroids are fragments and debris in space, resulting from collisions among asteroids, comets, moons, and planets. They are among the smallest space rocks. However, we can actually see them when they streak through our atmosphere, in the form of meteors and meteor showers. What do astronauts do in space? Whilst being an astronaut may seem like a very glamorous and exciting job, living on the International Space Station actually involves performing a lot of ordinary, mundane tasks. It is the crew's responsibility to maintain the station as they would their own house. This means cleaning, checking equipment, and either repairing or replacing anything that is broken. In addition to this, there are often lots of science experiments happening on board, so astronauts have to make sure they are operating correctly. Spacewalks are probably the part of an astronaut's job that we are most used to seeing on TV and in movies. They usually happen if the astronauts have to perform work outside the ship and can be extremely dangerous. Something you may not know is that astronauts are required to do 2 hours of exercise every day. Being an astronaut is very physically demanding work, and so it is vital that everyone stays in great shape. Another reason why astronauts have to exercise so much is that, due to the lack of gravity in space, it is easy for your muscles to go weak, as you aren't using them to walk around, etc. Astronauts have special machines that allow them to be strapped down to a treadmill so that they can keep their bones and muscles active and strong. Types of astronauts. There are 2 types of astronauts that are sent into space. Mission specialist astronauts. These astronauts usually come from an engineering, science, or medicine background. They work with the pilots to carry out experiments, launch satellites, and maintain the spacecraft and equipment. Pilot astronauts. These astronauts work as pilots and commanders for the Space Shuttle and International Space Station. Their job comes with a great deal of responsibility, as they must oversee the entire crew, the mission, and the safety of the flight. Fun facts about outer space. The footprints on the moon left by astronauts will last 100 million years. As the moon has no atmosphere, it also doesn't have any wind, which means that its surface doesn't get eroded over time. There is also no water on the moon, so the footprints won't be washed away. Venus is the hottest planet in our solar system. The average surface temperature of Venus is around 450 degrees, which is 162 degrees higher than Earth. One day on Venus is longer than a year on Earth. The orbit of Venus around the Sun takes 225 Earth days, meaning that a year on Venus is actually 18 days less than a day on Venus. It is impossible to count the number of stars in space. Space is so massive that it is impossible to accurately say how many stars there are. Scientists and astronomers can, however, use the number of stars in our galaxy, the Milky Way, to make an estimate of between 200 to 400 billion stars. That's all time we have for today's video. Like this video if you found it helpful, and don't forget to press the bell icon so you won't miss any updates.